Atmadhaivataha Amayayanuvrityas Yais Tusyat Atmana Do Harihi. And do it again. Tatra Bhagavatam Dharman Siksat Guratma Daivataha Amayayanuvritya Yais Tusyat Atma Do Harihi. Translation. Okay. Accepting the bona fide spiritual master as one's life and soul and worshipable deity, the disciple should learn from him the process of pure devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the soul of all souls, is inclined to give himself to his pure devotees. Therefore, the disciple should learn from the spiritual master to serve the Lord without duplicity and in such a faithful and favorable way that the Supreme Lord, being satisfied, will offer himself to the faithful disciple. The purport is extremely long, so we'll go down to halfway down the purport. Keep going down. Go down more, more, more. Keep going. Go down more, more, more. Okay, keep going. Keep going, keep going. Yeah. Srila Rupa Swami has delineated 4 preliminary requisites for advancement for a seer disciple. 1, accepting the shelter of a lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. 2, becoming initiated by the spiritual master and inquiring and learning to discharge devotional service from him. 3, obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. 4, following in the footsteps of the great acharyas, teachers, under direction of the spiritual master. One who has executed these preliminary duties is qualified to relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so these 4 principles are mentioned by Rupa Goswami as the means by which one can first approach and then follow the spiritual master. These are the basic principles. Go to the next verse, which is verse number 23. Okay. Sarvato manaso sangam Ado sangam cha sadhusu Dayam atram parasyam cha Bhute swada adya yato chitam. Translation. A sincere disciple should learn to disassociate the mind from everything material and positively cultivate association with the spiritual master and other saintly devotees. He should be merciful to those who are inferior position to him, cultivate friendship with those on an equal level, and meekly serve those in the higher spiritual position. Thus he should learn to deal properly with all living beings. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So here's some basic principles and considerations that one should know in order to execute devotional service. There are 3 levels, you might say, or categories of living entities, which are also classified within the category of devotees. Those who are, what we say, on the lowest level, that is called Prakrita Bhakta, or what we say, Prakrita means materialistic devotee. Well, we call it neophyte. And then there's one stage higher, which is called the Madhyama Adhikari, Madhyama Bhakti. And there's 4 characteristics that make up the Madhyama Adhikari. That is called the middle position, and the position that is being emphasized as the standard by which we should practice our devotional service. We should move away from the neophyte stage and come to the second platform. And we'll explain them. And our third and highest is called the Uttama Adhikari, or the pure devotee who is completely free from all material tendencies and sees every living entity as part and parcel of Krishna by realization of his own spiritual practice. So the neophyte stage this is called materialist devotee. Generally, when we come in from that position, when we start off in devotional service, and the tendency is, or the characteristics of such a person, is they have regard for the spiritual master. They also have some attraction for Krishna, but they cannot work with, nor do they see the importance of association with devotees. And they're more or less focused themselves on their own practice of spiritual life. And they basically think that the non-devotees, karmis, are just, fallen people that, we should completely disassociate ourselves with. And other devotees usually are just in my way in devotional service. Neophyte. Enthusiastic, but not very intelligent. Also not very trained. For most of you, you live outside the temple. I don't think there's only one person here in the room that lives in the temple. Yeah, and everybody else lives outside. So the standard for activities is slightly different for those who are living outside. But usually those who live in the temple, you'll find that there are people who are like that neophyte stage. They are just focused on their own Krishna consciousness, and they don't preach to others. They think the Guru and Krishna is everything, and the other devotees are basically a nuisance, to put it very straightforward. That is in the neophyte stage, and the Bhagavatam and the spiritual teachers say we have to move away from that stage. And because you can't actually attract Krishna on that stage. That's called Prakrita Bhakta. Prakrita means materialistic Bhakta. Although they have some regard and attraction for Guru and Krishna, still they don't understand the process of devotional service. And they don't have any regard for others. The next stage is the stage of the standard by which our movement operates on, and that is called the Madhyamam stage. And in that stage there's 4 characteristics. One, they offer their love to the Supreme Lord. In other words, they develop attraction, affection for the Supreme Lord. They associate with and serve other devotees. They preach to the innocent, the non-devotees, or they try to elevate the non-devotees to a higher stage of consciousness, Krishna consciousness. And they carefully avoid the atheistic materialists who are obviously against devotional service. Demons, atheists, hardcore materialists. They carefully avoid that. So these are the 4 characteristics of the Madhyama and the level by which we are meant to practice devotional service. To give our love for Krishna, to make friends and associate with devotees, and to also preach and try to uplift the conditioned souls. And the last one is, of course, to avoid the atheistic non-devotees. The highest stage is the Uttama Adhikari. They see everyone more advanced than they are. Although they're on the highest stage of bhakti, they consider themselves the most fallen. Although they are fully engaged in devotional service, and they see Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Namne Gavani Havi Hastini Suni Chaiva Supakecha Pandita Samadarshan. They see with equal vision all living entities, and they also see themselves as servant of everyone because they consider everyone more advanced than them, even the non-devotees. We can't imitate that stage. The pure devotee spiritual master, when they come off that stage and they come down to the second stage. They can't function on the third stage because on the second stage you have to discriminate between devotee and non-devotee. The Uttama Adhikaris don't do that. They see everyone more advanced than them, therefore they don't preach because they think everyone is more advanced than I. So that's why we say, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariva Jakacharya. So Paramahansa is the highest stage of Krishna consciousness. But they can't stay on that stage, so in order to preach, they come down to the second class platform, Madhyam stage, in order to discriminate and to preach and to engage in devotional service. So we see that with Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada was leaving the body towards the end of his, he was apologizing for all of the way he spoke. He said, I committed so many offenses. I said, I spoke this way, I spoke so strongly to everyone. He was moving back to his actual consciousness on the highest stage of bhakti. But as a guru, he had to come down to the other stage in order to preach. But that's also the stage by which we are meant to execute our devotional service. And then we also heard in this one verse that devotees sort of relate to other living entities and other devotees in three different ways also. This is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, that for the advanced devotee, spiritual master, or senior devotees who are fixed in Krishna consciousness, we look for opportunities to serve. A disciple is one who is eager to serve. Not passively eager, but actively eager. There's a difference. Passively eager means, if it comes my way, I'm there. But if it doesn't, I'll just wait till it comes my way. But actively eager means they're looking to serve. They're eager to hear more instructions from the spiritual master. They're eager to engage in devotional service. They look for opportunities to make advancement by doing more service and inquiring from the spiritual master, how can they increase the quality of their devotional service. They're what we say proactive. And that's the consciousness of a sincere devotee, always looking for opportunities for service. Therefore, those who are in a higher position of those devotees, they like to hear from them. They want to learn. Prabhupada talks about his own self in relationship to his spiritual master. When his godbrothers recommended him for initiation to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he responded immediately, yes, I have noted, he likes to hear. He likes to hear. So this is a quality of a sincere devotee. They like to hear. They like to hear the message coming from their spiritual master, or those who are also qualified to deliver the same message. They like to hear. They're eager to hear. They look for opportunities to hear. This is a qualification that will allow one to always be nicely situated in devotional service. Eager to learn more, eager to learn better on how to execute one's own devotional service. And so they like to hear, but they also like to serve. So for those in a higher position, these devotees look for service, how to serve the guru, how to serve they also look for personal service sometimes. Because sometimes personal service is not always available for every disciple. But a disciple will think, let me see if I can get some personal service. If they can do it, that's nice. If they can't do it, there's no loss, but at the same time, they should try for it, some personal service. And then, so what can I do, you know? Aside from my regular service, let me do something on the personal level for those in a higher position. For those who are we call it the peer group, we develop friendship. And not only friendship, but deep friendship. We share Krishna consciousness together, work together in a way to serve the spiritual master's instructions. Supporting each other, we're not an island in ourselves. We can simply become so adept at performing our devotional service, we don't need the association of others. We can simply do it. I got the instructions, I can carry it out. No, we need association. You see, you'll even see Krishna teaches. You don't see pictures of Krishna alone. He's always with the cows, with the deer, with his associates. There's always some living entity around Krishna all the time. Krishna usually is never alone because he loves to be with other living entities because they love him and he loves them, so they're always exchanging some loving relationships. So a devotee also wants to develop friendships with other devotees. And of course, we usually tend to develop friendships with people who are similar in nature, similar in likings. Like our likings are the same. What is our liking? We're all trying to be devotees. But our natures may be different. We have the Kshatriya nature, we have the Brahminical nature, we have the Sudra type nature, we have the, how do we call it, the Vaishya nature, Swadharma, one's characteristics. So one should try to associate with and serve devotees. Everyone, but for those who have similar natures, we look for opportunities to develop friendship with devotees. Not only friendship, but Prabhupada said devotees should develop love for each other. Love means what? What does love mean? That I'll do anything for you if it'll help you when you're Krishna conscious. Or if there's some need on a personal level, I'm there to help. That's how a devotee thinks. If I can serve in any way, whether it's for your basic needs or for your advancement in Krishna consciousness or to assist you, I'm there. Devotees like to serve other devotees. They look for the opportunity to serve. And that's another thing that has to be proactive. It can't be, well, yep, I'm ready to serve, bring it on. No, you got to go for it. You got to look for it. And that makes you happy. You look for it. Well, you might say, well, I'm kind of shy, you know. I'm kind of like, you know, that's not my nature. But you can always find some way to develop some relationship with other devotees where you can always be available for service. And of course, what is the best service? Is to inspire others in their Krishna consciousness, to support others in their Krishna consciousness. In the Nectar of Instructions, it talks about the loving exchanges between devotees. What are those loving exchanges? Well, offering one's confidential thoughts to another, hearing one's confidential thoughts, giving gifts, accepting gifts, and giving prasadam and accepting prasadam. These are considered to be the 6 loving exchanges between devotees. And Srila Prabhupada writes that these devotees must practice this daily. Daily. You may not practice all 6 of them daily, but you should practice at least 1 or 2 daily. Like that. Well, confidential thoughts, sometimes we speak about philosophical teachings to help each other get inspired in the process of devotional service. Or we also sometimes open our mind and talk about our own personal experiences in Krishna consciousness, or our own personal struggles in Krishna consciousness. We develop friendship on that level. Every devotee should have a very, very close friend where they can talk to at any time with whatever matter. And the devotee feels, yeah, I don't have to worry. Maybe the spiritual master is not always available, so he's not always in the physical, but I can also exchange and get inspiration from my devotee friend, like that. So that's important. And we might say it should be outside of your husband and wife. Hare Krishna. You can also do that with your husband and wife, but you should also have, the men should have some male friend outside, the women should have some female friend outside. Yeah, because it's actually natural, like that. Because with husband and wife, you get a little too familiar sometimes. And when you get too familiar, you take each other for granted. And then, you know, well, I got a problem. Yeah, me too. Who goes first? So, yeah, so developing these relationships are really fundamental to our happiness in Krishna consciousness. Because if you're happy, and that's one of the principles of developing happiness, is relationships. A relationship we have is with Krishna, that's eternal. But how much have we developed that relationship? Can we relate to Krishna every moment? But we can always relate to someone else who is also representing Krishna in their own devotional life. So in that same way, we're also taking Krishna's association through our relationships with other devotees. So that's important. So on the pure level, becoming friends, developing trust, working together, assisting each other in our Krishna consciousness. And sometimes just joking. Prabhupada was very funny. Shruti Kirti could probably give a whole seminar on Prabhupada's humor. We were talking about some of Prabhupada's humor the other day when I was in Ujjain. They said they gave me a class. They said the class today is you have to talk about Prabhupada's humor. I did some research and found a few things that I thought was quite funny. And so Prabhupada was very funny. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was really funny. But you don't hear about that because his humor was only with his disciples. He never did it outside. He only did it once outside. Only once. Prabhupada mentions that one time he joked with his wife once. She said she was missing something in the house. She couldn't find it. So Mahaprabhu said, well, maybe your daughter-in-law took it. That was the joke. So Mahaprabhu was very strict in terms of how he would deliver what his disciples. He was always joking, Prabhupada. Prabhupada would sometimes see some of his close godbrothers, especially, what was his name? What was that godbrother's name? Junior godbrother, always chanting all the time. Huh? Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, yeah. They would see each other. As soon as they'd see each other, they'd start laughing. They would sit together. Prabhupada would slap his leg and they'd be laughing. Devotees are looking. Wow. So Prabhupada, so devotees, humor is a very big part of Krishna consciousness. Some of us have some ways to go in that area, but still, that humor nature is also there in everyone, but maybe in a different flavor. So yeah, sometimes joking with other devotees. And that's also Krishna conscious. Krishna also used to do that too. He would joke with some of his friends. In fact, he would always joke with the cowherd boys, and sometimes he would make fun of some of the older gopis. Krishna was really funny. So this is our movement. Prabhupada said, what did he say? He said laughing and what was the other one? What other thing? Wrestling. These are the two activities of Vaishnavas. Was it wrestling or something else?
Swimming.
Swimming, that's right. Swimming and laughing. These are the two activities of Vaishnavas. So yeah, so devotees can share relationships with each other in a broad way, as you would do with friends in general. And then, of course, the third point, and which is also, devotees feel for others. They see another person needs some help, some guidance, and they look at the karmis in general. Their spiritual master has come to bring as many non-devotees to the position of becoming devotees. So let me help my spiritual master. Let me also try to understand a little bit about how to be compassionate to the fallen conditioned souls. And that compassion may take the form in different ways, but the essence is to enlighten them in Krishna consciousness, bring them closer to Krishna. Because that's the greatest form of welfare work. When people are Krishna conscious, then they can solve their own problems. And after some time, they have no more problems. So these are the three categories that's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. The negative side of these three categories, or you might say the materialistic side, is that when someone sees someone more advanced than them, they become envious. When they're with their peer group, they want to explain to their friends how wonderful they are, and let their friends be impressed by this person's qualities or activities, his achievements, like that. They brag about their own just to impress their friends. And the last one is to think that, you know, people are fallen, that's their own problem, therefore we don't want to bother with that's their fault. In other words, no compassion, no kindness, like that. That's the negative side. But so the devotees are always eager to practice these loving relationships and at the same time relate to devotees in different ways. This is fundamental to our practice of Krishna consciousness. Especially sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu shastri hoy, lavamate sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. To associate with and to serve devotees is the greatest form of happiness, because it brings Krishna's mercy into that atmosphere. Krishna likes when he sees devotees are working together, serving together, cooperating together. When Prabhupada was asked well, of course he was, actually the Prabhupada wasn't asked, but he spoke something towards the end of his time with us. He said, "You'll please me by how much you cooperate together to push on this Krishna consciousness movement." How can we please you, Prabhupada? That was the question. To work together in a cooperative way to push on Krishna consciousness, like that. So, of course, many of us now, I was listening to Prabhupada this morning. He was talking about Krishna consciousness in Grihastha ashram. And I was thinking, boy, that's very relevant to the devotees here. Most of us are in Grihastha ashram. Some of us are on parallel to Grihastha ashram, which means we're either been in it and we're out of it, or not in it and we're trying to get in it. Something like that. So I don't know if there's a parallel ashram, but if you're looking towards it anyway. But the point is that Prabhupada was saying that the Grihasthas, they should understand that the most important thing is Krishna in their life. So whatever they do, they should always do everything for Krishna's pleasure and work with others to also bring Krishna into their life, like that. And then he was saying sometimes we have to deal with the non-devotees, but that is that, he says, we just do that just enough, just to carry on business, not to develop relationships beyond what is necessary to carry on the business. We develop relationships with devotees, really deep relationships, and with the non-devotees we are friendly but not affectionate. Friendly but not affectionate, yeah. As soon as you give your affection, then you give yourself. Yeah, like that. So we work with the non-devotees because if we somehow go into that area, and then we might find ourselves, our own values, our own Krishna conscious principles are being threatened by that association. Because what they believe, what they talk about, and how they relate to each other is just basically the opposite of what we believe in terms of how we should conduct ourselves. The devotee is always thinking how to serve others. The non-devotee is always thinking how to enjoy this material world. And they think by bringing you into their enjoyment, they're doing you a favor. Yeah. Or that's their kindness towards you, to bring you into Maya. Right? But for them, that's all they know. So that's what they mean. So if we accept that, we find ourselves in what is called an awkward situation, or an embarrassing situation, because we don't have the same values, the same types of conversations that they do. So we can be friendly but not affectionate, carry on your business, you have an occupation, you have ordinary dealings with people in general because you have household responsibilities. You're just friendly, but move on. But if you can preach to them, then you're not taking their association. You're giving your association to them. So Prabhupada said, we have something to give, and they can benefit from that, but they have nothing to give us. Because we left everything behind that they are living for to become who we are. So, yeah, like that. So that's these are some things we can think about in terms of our practicing Krishna consciousness. And firm faith in the instructions of the spiritual master, and always looking for opportunities to carry out devotional service, eager to serve. We took this, the verses were more or less like that. In those 4 principles by Rupa Goswami, it mentions that one should take shelter, that's called aspiring, take initiation, but after initiation, it's not the, Prabhupada said that's the beginning, it's not the end. So then, how can I make advancement in Krishna consciousness? I see devotees sometimes after initiation, Haribol, Maharaj, I'm initiation, I'll see you when you leave your body, or on your birthday. Yeah, I see that. It happens all the time. They're really eager, and then after initiation, life's different. So, but no, we should still connect with the spiritual master. Sometimes we ask disciples to send a monthly report about what is your practice in Krishna consciousness, what are the struggles you're undergoing, some realizations. In other words, some kind of what we say, reporting about one's activities. So we established that when I started many years ago. The devotees send in a letter once a month. But I think I get 2 letters out of more than 100 disciples. People are too busy in their material affairs. Be careful. Even though you have your responsibilities, but keep Krishna first. Krishna has to be first. Otherwise, our advancement in Krishna consciousness is really, really slow. Not slow. It's like getting on the back of a snail and trying to go fast. You can't. So we always have to keep Krishna. That's why Krishna gives us the formula. What is it? Matkarosi, Maranasi, Ajahosi, Tadasi. Whatever you do it for me. Always think of me. Whatever, even if you do your materialistic activities, try to connect these things with Krishna, at least by thinking about him. At least by offering some of these activities as an offering to him in devotion. Don't get so absorbed in your material activities you forget Krishna. Because forgetting Krishna means forgetting the goal of life. We should always be connected with Krishna. So to become a devotee means to keep Krishna foremost. If you live in a temple, easier. If you live outside, you have to arrange your life in such a way that you can easily remember Krishna throughout the day. So it's a little harder work outside. Prabhupada used the example. When you're in the stock exchange, you're always trading and you're right on the floor, you're getting all the action, you know what's happening, things are changing, you're buying, selling, it's immediate. But when you're outside the stock exchange, you can still buy and sell, but the opportunities are much less. So living in the temple is an advantage, of course, for grihastas who have families. Most of us now, of course, our society is more inclined to the grihasta ashram. We still have brahmachari somewhere. Once in a while we see some orange color. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he's just preparing for the change. So not like that, no. So the idea is that we should always keep Krishna foremost. And that's a struggle. What pleases the spiritual master most? When he sees the devotees making advancement in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes there's gifts, there's nice words to the spiritual master, so many nice things that people offer to the spiritual master. These are external. They're for the benefit of this disciple. The real thing is the spiritual master is there to bring you closer to Krishna. And when he sees you making advancement, he becomes pleased. And that pleases the spiritual master the most. Okay, so we can open it up maybe for a little discussion on some of the topics that we, yes, Srimati?
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for this topic. When we are talking about friendships or preaching to the new people or neophytes, I have a concern that neophyte devotees, they are very eager to learn and they are friendly and they want opportunities to learn. But sometimes the senior devotees I see, they exploit and they just tell them services, they make them do a lot of work, but they don't ask about their sadhana, they don't ask about their welfare, how it is going, and are you happy in Krishna consciousness, do you have any problems? So like that they are not asking and they are just making them do work, that's all very much.
Well, I was directly involved with a situation where one senior devotee, he ran the temple like that. Work, work, work. But after many years and things changed, he admitted, he said, I put too much emphasis on service and not enough on education. It was always get the job done. Work, work, work. Well, it's not work, it's service. But there should be a balance. So those who are in a senior position, they should see, is the devotees having enough time for their chanting? Are they getting enough time to associate with? And are they reading the books? Prabhupada would always ask, are you reading my books? And emphasizing the importance of reading. So yeah, this is sadhana is the foundation by which service develops nicely. And from sadhana, the goal is sadhya, which means to develop attraction and affection and ultimately love for Krishna. So we can be in the movement for hundreds of years and never move back past a certain point if we don't follow the process. That's why Prabhupada said the process is to glorify the Lord by chanting the holy name. But he says we still have to perform the other activities in devotional service which support the quality of our chanting. So yeah, it's important that those in a senior position who have responsibilities towards others to make sure they're getting everything they need.
So, but suppose if I am seeing that type of situation, in that situation, what should I do to help them?
Well, that person is going to another senior devotee but not getting what they need. I mean, you may suggest that they should go somewhere else to get what they need. Or if you can provide that yourself. We encourage devotees to have sanghas amongst themselves where they all get together and chant and also discuss Prabhupada's books. You don't need a temple for that. Yes, the guy in the other funny colors there. What was it? Yeah. There's two of us here. Three. Okay. Hare Krishna, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I have a comment on this what you said, because it seems like we just do service, but we do not feed our sambandha. We don't try to understand the sambandha. It becomes mechanical, and then just do the job done. It means they have to really.
We see that the devotees who are like that, after some time, they lose their enthusiasm. Because the process is to hear and chant the glories of the Lord, which purifies the consciousness. If that's not given priority, then service after some time will turn into work. They may continue to work, but they won't be so inspired, nor will they find so much satisfaction in their service. Unless they're a person who has reached that stage from previous lives, which is a rare situation. That's possible. But that's not the protocol or the way we organize our society. We don't assume everyone is on a level where they don't need sadhana or a regular type of sadhana like that. I mean, Prabhupada did say one time when someone was criticizing, we heard from Shruta Kirti the other day, when somebody was criticizing one senior devotee for not chanting his rounds, Prabhupada chastised that person for finding fault. So these are, the spiritual master sees in a broader way, not just the situation. He can adjust things. But for us, we follow what he's given us, not follow what he does, but we follow what he gives us. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just pretense.
I have a really important three short questions, and you tell me as much as I could go with it, and a really important comment actually. Maharaj, it is written here in the second verse, what it practically means to positively cultivate association with the spiritual master and other saintly devotees. Because sometimes they also say you should be friendly to a spiritual master, so what does it mean friendly means actually?
The spiritual master is your friend, but you shouldn't get friendly. Just let him be your friend. Why is he called a friend? Because there is 3 types of friends: Mitra, Bandhu, and Suhit. Suhit means that friend who knows what's best for you and helps you achieve that. And that's Krishna. He's called Suhit. Spiritual master is also like that. He's not trying to get something from the relationship. He's only trying to give, like that. In a regular friendship, it's more or less mutual. You share. But in this type, it's just... Friendship means that he's our best friend because he's giving us our best friend, Krishna.
But this means positively cultivating association.
Yeah. In other words, I find people find excuses not to connect with the spiritual master. And what is the spiritual master's main duty? It's not emails. Of course, that's part of it. Or, doing so many things. His main concern is his disciples. Why would he make disciples if he can't follow and somehow nourish them in their Krishna consciousness? That's the main thing. But sometimes that nourishment is not received by the disciples, or it's not available. Kadamba Kanana Maharaj made a nice breakdown of 3 types of disciples: the fish, the turtle, and what was the other one?
The bird.
The bird. You remember the definitions? Can you explain it?
So the first level is the bird, because the bird directly feeds the disciple. Then the second one is the fish. Fish always observes the disciple. And the third one is the turtle, which kind of puts the seed, and then he leaves and meditates and prays for the disciple. But maybe he's not observing.
That's a very simple oversimplification of it, but there's something there. Yeah, it's in an article that he wrote. Because he said, he was explaining that disciples have different needs according to the disciple. Some need the spiritual master all the time, some occasionally, and some can follow without taking that association. They're still fixed. That's the turtle. Yeah. Maybe tomorrow I'll try to bring it out. Good, thank you. Well, there was another question somewhere. There was a lot of questions. Who's next? I will go with Akarshini Radha. Then we'll go to Sri Advaita and then Namrata. Oh, Amrita Nam. Correcting the Guru, huh? Just see. Namrata is just as good as Amrita Nam.
Okay, I'll take both of them.
Rata means jewel, and Nam means the holy name, right?
Okay, I'll take both then.
So you can be both. But actually your name is Amrita Nam, which is the one I don't know, I just liked your old name really a lot, so somehow I slipped back into it. Yes.
Thank you very much. When you said about being passively eager and actively eager in devotional service, so what does it mean if you're serving and you can always do more service, but if you feel satisfied or you feel like you're doing what's within your capacity for now, does that mean you're passively serving?
Well, I'm using the example is that you should be eager for service. And you should look for opportunities for service. So if you're already serving, that means you're fine. But Prabhupada showed us that Krishna consciousness is not within limits. The more Krishna conscious you are, the more you find opportunities to do more service. And also, you also think in terms of quality too. Quality is another form of activity to try to think how to make my present service even more nicer, more pleasing to Krishna. Offer it better, better offering like that. That's also, we say, looking for opportunities for more. So a devotee just doesn't accept, okay, I'm okay where I am, No, they're always looking how to make more advancement and do more service, how to increase.
So you can do it with, doesn't have to necessarily be more service, but doing the one you're doing with more quality.
That's also more service, more quality. But if somebody comes and says, can you help me? You say, well, what do you do? And I'll help you with quality. You may, sometimes you find yourself being, I get opportunities for more service every day. Every day somebody calls me and says, can you come here? Can you go there? We got this going. And so, it's just so many opportunities for more service. So if it comes, you shouldn't say, well, I'm only into quality. Okay? Yeah, if you can do it, yeah. But we don't want to, what we say, curtail or minimize our sadhana, and because then we say we don't have no time for sadhana because we're too busy doing, just general service. Should always keep our sadhana foremost, yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your class. Maharaj, I was under the impression that if you develop friendship with the non-devotees, that's one of the effective ways to preach to them, because through your friendship and through association, they'll see certain qualities and they'll be...
Yeah, but if you go fishing, don't fall in the water. In other words, that is called, preaching, but in the name of preaching, don't compromise your values or your principles in order to preach. You say you have to be careful. There's only few people can do that, not everyone. To be careful. Because we're coming out of the same thing that they're in, and we still have some tendencies towards what they do. We might also find ourselves, liking or even getting involved with some of our old ways again. It happens. Don't ever think you're safe in Krishna consciousness. And that's one of the biggest forms of Maya. As soon as you think you're safe, Maya says, ha, my next victim. Yeah, that's the biggest illusion. Always be... Prabhupada also taught that. One time Prabhupada was, I think it was in a hotel room, I can't remember the details, and Prabhupada was praying. Devotees were with him. Prabhupada started to speak. He said, I'm praying that I don't fall into Maya. And he wasn't just making some example. He was actually feeling like that. I'm praying I don't fall into Maya. So the more advanced you become, the more you become careful not to do something that will jeopardize your Krishna consciousness. So preach, but don't fall into the wrong mood or the wrong ideas. Be careful. You can use ordinary parlance to somehow to stimulate some connection. But then that shouldn't, that's only an introduction. And you have to come in with Krishna. They see you as a devotee, and if you just relate to them on their level, then you're giving, they're actually still see you different. So, yeah, you can do that, but you have to be careful not to become like them again, or start to glorify their values, you know.
So at some point we should start speaking about Krishna in our
Yeah.
friendship, like as soon as possible as we can.
Something about the holy name, about reading spiritual literature, something. You have to connect with what is that relationship about. It's not about just making friends. It's about giving them Krishna. Yes, Amrita Nam. Can I call you Amrita Ratna? How about that?
You can call me anything from my heart, as you like. First of all, I really apologize. I didn't mean to correct you. I'm really sorry for that.
Well, that was nice. I liked it. I don't mind getting corrected.
Okay. So my question was, when we are working in a team to do devotional service, of course, may it be bigger or smaller team, but initially we see that devotees are enthusiastic in initial time, then the passion interferes in the devotional service. So how to deal with that?
Three things. There's creation, maintenance, and destruction. A lot of times when we start a project, we're really enthusiastic. But to keep the project, to develop it, and to maintain it requires a different mood. And the enthusiasm that was there when we developed it is important to get it started, but then we have to understand there's some work to do. Then we have to get serious to make sure it happens. So don't let that enthusiasm become the only thing in your Krishna consciousness. And you have to do some sacrifice. You have to make some commitment to work to make it happen, whatever the goal is. As they say, it's easy to start something. It's easy to destroy something. It's difficult to maintain something. Very difficult to maintain something.
And Guru Maharaj, how important it is to work in a hierarchy when we are doing a teamwork? Like those who are just like in a training phase or maybe in the initial phase, I feel it's very important for them to understand who have already worked with the service, but then the base level of the devotees who are maybe newly entered, who are in the training phase, they somehow they go under more of passion, and it's very important to make them understand the upper level is more experienced and they have been working.
Oh, they want to take over.
Yeah.
Well, don't let them.
So, by glorification of Guru and Gauranga, and we have to do it regularly to make them.
Yeah, well, if there's people who are leading the group, then they should lead. And the followers have to understand that they came to learn. They can also lead, but after they have to first learn how to learn what they have to lead from. So you can take their suggestions and see if it'll work in developing what you want to develop. But you can take whatever they say and just try to use it, but You can't take that as the principle of whatever anyone says we have to do. No. The leaders should know how to lead whoever they're leading. Both in, I mean, it's difficult because you have to manage personalities and also people's ideas, people's deviations. So leadership has to, that's the quality of one who's in leadership. Taking something and bring it back to the standard. Yeah, that can be done nicely if you know how to do it. Well, what you say is really nice, and I think we can say it is very useful. But in this situation, this will work better. This apply. In other words, just move them from where they are to where you want them to be. Yeah. People who work with children are better at that. They know how to do that. Okay, who else did we have here? We got a lot of hands here. Okay. Sri Devi.
Guru Maharaj, as you were speaking about being passive, something that Akarshani said was a little bit, working in my mind. When we want to serve devotees, each of us has a different mood and a different type of service. For example, all I know to do is preach. I don't know anything else. So as I was coming for this program, I was thinking, how can I serve my God sisters and God brothers? And after I come here, I'm thinking maybe I should help them, and ask questions. Then I think, no, that may be prying into, something that's very personal. Maybe they don't feel comfortable sharing where their sadhana is or how to help them. Then I'm a little puzzled. How can I help them?
Just know the person. Just you want to help somebody, you just know a little bit about them, and then you see what works. What can you do? You try. But you can't relate to every person exactly the same. But you can relate to everyone in a Krishna conscious way. That's there. For some you may just talk about Krishna, others you may talk about service, others you might just, share prasadam together, others you may give a gift to. In different ways you can relate to devotees.
Thank you.
Yes, Parijata.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. This is a really, really helpful session, Maharaj. It will really help us grow, and we got so many good insights into how things should be. And thank you very, very much. Another thing that I've been noticing for many years, wherever I am also serving, and I've been observing that this is happening a lot, and a few years ago this happened with me. We want to talk about envy. So sometimes when some people are really good at their service, when they serve, the others, the peers maybe, the juniors or the seniors, they get really envious. And now that's okay, because there's a healthy envy and then there's this harmful envy. So everybody's envious, but it reflects in your actions when it becomes a problem. And I've seen people get really, really envious, and they don't mind showing it also. So sometimes we want to correct them that you're making an offense. Please do not do that. They become more aggressive. I tried to help a devotee who was being, other people were envious of them, this couple that I was trying to help, and they were really good at their seva. There was a big disaster. So I tried to save them. I tried to tell everyone, please, don't do this. They're really good. Don't try to bring them down. Don't do that. So they blasted at me that you're in Maya. So I carried that in my heart for a long time, that this is not how devotees should behave. What's happening in our movement? This should not. We're here to help each other grow together. in Krishna consciousness, we're still carrying the baggage, what we were before our initiations, what we were when we were karmis. We're still carrying those anarthas with us, and we wear this badge of a Hare Krishna or initiated devotee on our forehead, on our...
Prabhupada
So
said, Prabhupada said the difference between material and spiritual is non-envious, material is envious. Straight statement.
So how to deal with such a situation? And when we know a person is envious or is jealous or something, I generally wait for the thing to subside, because I know, oh, maybe it's like 1 or 2 days and all, but some people are really at it. And how do we, and not just myself.
I ignore such persons.
Ignore?
That's one of the ways, because they need somebody to vent their envy towards. So if you ignore them, there's no object. People shoot things at you, sometimes you just, okay. And you want to say something in response, but you know if you do, it'll just accelerate the whole energy. So a lot of times I just let it go. And then they back off because there's no object anymore.
Some people don't back off, Maharaj. Some people actually harm. So what do we do in that situation? Talk to the seniors?
Get out of their association.
Oh, great. Thank you, Maharaj.
The way you describe it sounds like these people they're incorrigible. So there's no way you can correct them. So you just ignore them.
Some people take offense. Who are you to tell us what to do? We know more.
Well, it's your job to protect somebody else, so then you have to do your service. But be careful if you know you're going to step on a snake, you might want to avoid that.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Mark, sometimes these people can be in position of authority as well, so they can really hinder spiritual growth. Like sometimes at the temple they could be in a spiritual authority. So as you said, it's really hard to ignore them then, because you have to deal with them sort of every single day, because they're either your service authority or some sort of manager at the temple or something. So it becomes really hard to ignore, and then because that may be the only local temple you have, and then it just takes you away from that whole mood of Krishna consciousness, and that also might discourage you from practicing.
Well, if you can make a difference, then go ahead. But if you can't, then all it's going to do is accelerate, that's all. But when you're dealing with seniors, you get another senior to speak to them. You say, well, this person, he's in that position, he's acting wrong, and he's causing problems. And if you can convince someone else to help who's on the same level or even higher than that person, that way you don't have to get directly involved, and that other person will have more leverage because they're more in line with that person in position. Seniors don't like to get corrected by juniors, that's for sure. But sometimes, if a senior is humble, they'll accept whatever comes. But if they're not humble, then they'll be very defensive. So the best thing is find someone who is their peer or even their superior and tell them your situation and ask them if they could help. And if they agree, then it's good. If they don't agree, you might have to find someone else. But try anyway. Yeah, let's see. Manisha had a question.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for such an active class, wonderful class.
Keep it up so they can hear you.
Maharaj, as you said in the class, sometimes one have attachment to the Guru and Shastra, but they do not know how to do devotional service or how to progress in devotional service.
That's called neophyte, right? I was explaining the quality of a neophyte. The ones that I was explaining the characteristics of the third class devotee. Yeah. So, what's the question?
So how it is possible if someone have that attachment to the Guru and Shastra, but at the same time they don't have to do work in devotional service, or they don't progress in devotional service?
Well, why not? Why are they not progressing?
That's my question.
Progression comes by chanting Hare Krishna. Progression comes by doing service. Progression comes by reading the books. These are all things that you can do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Process is there. We just have to take advantage of the process. If we don't take advantage of the process, then how can we make any progress? And if people need help on how to do these things, we also teach people how to study the scriptures, how to approach the holy name, how to associate with and serve devotees. We also give suggestions in that area, or directions. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I have another question.
One more?
As mentioned in the verse that we read, following the footsteps of the great acharyas and the direction of the spiritual master. Can you please? Yeah.
That was up on the.
Can you please repeat that?
Spiritual master is representing the previous acharyas. So if you say, I follow the spiritual master, but what it means, previous acharyas, means those that set the standard by which you are now getting the same thing from your spiritual master. For instance, there's principles that govern brahmachari life, there's principles that govern grihastha life. So it's called sadhuvritti, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas who teach the principles of ashram. What are the rules, regulations, and activities of each of the ashrams? And that differs from ashram to ashram. Brahmacharis don't always follow everything the grihasthas and vice versa. So sadhuvritti, that's mentioned by Rupa Goswami, means to accept your ashram and then learn what is the standard for worship in your ashram. What is the behavior for worship, for activities in your ashram. That's what it means to follow in the previous acharyas. Don't create something new. That's the idea. And consider it to be, when you say, more beneficial than what I've been given, or more important. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Let's see. We got. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Something I struggle with is sometimes amongst devotees there can be a feeling of competition amongst each other, and usually I tend to retreat in those situations. So I'm wondering what would be a more healthier way to develop compassion and kindness in these situations without becoming critical.
I think Parajata mentions that there's good envy and bad envy. Good envy is Prabhupada talks about that, how the gopis are seeing another gopi serving Krishna very nicely. And they're thinking, wow, that gopi is serving Krishna so nicely. I'm going to serve Krishna better than her. But not trying to tear down the other gopi, but trying to do better Krishna service to Krishna. And who benefits? Krishna. So if there seems to be competition, accept competition, but not in the spirit of tearing another person down or defeating another person. But all right, you're doing nice service, but I'm going to do better service. Haribol. And if you win, I'm happy. And if I win, I'm happy.
Yeah. Yes.
In other words, there's no mean spirit, there's no enmity, there's no negativity. It's just to increase our service for the pleasure of Krishna, that's all. So don't back off. Okay, Haribol. What's your name?
Jagannath Prem Das.
Jagat Prema.
Jagannath Prem Das.
Jagannath Prema Das Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Maharaj, I have a question that you have mentioned about the 6 loving exchanges that strengthen our friendship among devotees and help us progress in Krishna consciousness. But how can we recognize the devotees with whom we should cultivate these exchanges? In temple, we may have so many devotees who outwardly appear nice, but yet they may not actually be our well-wishers. At the same time, those devotees who truly care for our spiritual growth may live far away, perhaps in another state or another countries also.
What's the question?
So the question is, how can we properly balance this relationships and generally practice the Dadati Pratigrinati which you have mentioned? We should invite them for...
Well, that develops in the association of devotees. When you develop association, then you develop these activities, which brings about, the reason for association is to experience and exchange these loving exchanges. So you get to know devotees in the association, and you practice those. So you can, when it comes to giving a gift, you can give a gift to any devotee.
So perhaps the question is, how do we recognize those devotees to whom we should...
How to recognize? Recognize. I can't recognize for you. So you just see, well, this person thinks a lot like me, or he looks cool, I'm going to try and be with him or her. You just have to be a little bit, nobody's going to think every little thought for you. You got to do something yourself, How to recognize? Recognize. How to think? Think. How to do it. Yeah, just go for it. Push your microphone back there to Shrutakirta. I'm sure he can iron out my incomplete answer.
Prabhupada once said, someone wrote him a letter with the problem, and Prabhupada said, use your common sense. And if you don't have any, find someone that does.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of association, finding good association.
Use your common sense. We can't live without common sense. You have to use it. Last question for Sukavaha, real quick. I'm sorry about Krishna Kaviraj. We'll get to you later.
Thank you very much.
Real fast.
Really, really important and very, very powerful points you discussed today. I just have one question that recently we have been seeing there are clique forming in the guru groups and groups forming happening, and how much ever you try to break those groups, it's not happening. So when we are thinking about the association of devotees, those groups, it's very difficult to break it and I feel that
Something
those
wrong?
groups are not getting association of the other seniors. So it's like seniors group, juniors group, middle group, all the groups only. They don't associate with each other at all.
Haribol.
I feel it's sad, actually.
People gravitate to where they feel the most comfortable.
Yeah, but then there won't be any development, isn't it?
Are they or are they not? Are they making progress? Well then...
No. It's becoming like, okay, this this is what it is, this is my comfort zone, I'm not going to get out of it.
Well, they're unfortunate. All you can do is invite them into other programs. Yeah, just invite them to a broader sense of association, that's all. When we have festivals, we have programs at the temple, invite them to come.
They form their own group and they don't I've done that as a group. It's so difficult, I'm finding this.
I preach in Croatia, and that's the answer.
That's why I'm asking your advice very much.
I gave up. Couldn't do anything there. Croatia is not that bad. Really nice devotees. But they like groups too. Group. Just, I don't know, just somehow or other, invite them not to criticize others. If they want to have their own group, fine, but they shouldn't find fault with others. And then they'll go down also by criticizing others. Okay, so we're going to stop here because we're 5 minutes past. So then we'll hear from Shrutakirti, who will give us the complete picture on coming from Srila Prabhupada's lotus mouth. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.